one of the techniques that I use to help process and understand the Torah is to visualize it as if it were a movie, a film. There's the actors, the scenery. Now, with the advent of AI, you can plug in verses of the Torah or stories and prompt it, and it will deliver you unbelievable graphics and pictures and scenery. So when I close my eyes and try to imagine what it must have been like in the desert when the Israelites built the Mishkan, the portable tabernacle that they would use to worship God, I imagine this big, beautiful structure, and then the Torah gives us very clear instructions on the type of wood and gold and bronze and silver and all the materials that we need to use it. Okay, so now we have the Mishkan. So you close your eyes and you imagine this big, giant thing in the middle of the desert where people come in and out of and can worship and can stand at and can genuflect before God and throw their hands up in the sky or get down on the ground and say, Adonai, Adonai, Rachum v'chanun, God of compassion and mercy. And we fast forward a few thousand years, and we have the Mishkan. We know how to build structures for people to come and worship in. And we say the same thing, Adonai, Adonai, Rachum v'chanun. I was watching the funeral for Shiri, Ariel, and Kfir on, I believe it was Wednesday morning. And their father Yarden is standing at the Mishkan. He's standing at the podium at this altar that's been built, and he's looking down at the flowers, the orange flowers and the graves. And I imagine, just like in a movie, except this was real life, that he would be standing there saying, God of compassion and mercy, how can you do this to me? How can you fill me with such sadness and with such pain? Where are you when I need you most? So I thought that maybe what we would do is explore the Torah portion and connect it with the Bibas family. Now, of course, we know the Bibas family is not the only family mourning in Israel, but it's the most present in our lives right now. We've been most affected by it. As a father, I've been most affected by that particular story because of the children and the way in which they were, and the way in which they were murdered. And I, again, you close your eyes and you can just imagine someone a terrorist putting their hands around their neck, and they're saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And we feel like we can't breathe sometimes, watching this and having to relive it and go through the experience. And so I thought in their honors and their memories, we would explore some of the text and try to connect it to the memories of Shiri, Ariel, and Kfir. Parshat Truma and Shabbat Shkalim speaks about not only the Mishkan, V'asu li mikdash v'shachanti betocham, if you build it, they will come. It also speaks about the mitzvah, the commandment to give, that each one of us is responsible for bringing a half a shekel, but more than that, bringing ourselves, bringing our energy, bringing our time, bringing our love. We're all responsible in some way to help keep not just the structure, but the metaphorical structure intact. So Exodus chapter 25:2 says, speak to the children of Israel that they take for me an offering, a truma, for every person whose heart moves him, you shall take an offering. The Mishkan was not built by one leader or one family. It was a communal effort. So when everybody contributed gold, silver, or even the labor of their hands. In synagogues we value people who can invest financially, but we also value people who can show up and say, I'm here to work, I'm here to serve. I think it teaches that holiness and resilience are collective endeavors. In times of grief, nobody mourns alone. That's the Jewish response to loss, is to gather. It's to affirm life in the face of death, to build together. So what are some ways we build as a community after tragedy? How does collective memory strengthen us? These are not questions we need to answer now. It's questions to take on our week as we go. The Mishkan as a response to chaos creating sanctuaries in difficult times. So we read in Exodus, and let them make me a sanctuary that I will dwell among them. And we know that the Mishkan was constructed in the wilderness. It wasn't constructed during times of peace or security or under easy conditions. They were in the desert. They experienced very harsh conditions. It teaches that we don't wait for perfect conditions to create sacred spaces, that in moments of darkness we build sanctuaries of love and of justice and remembrance. And I think the loss of Ariel, Kfir, and Shiri reminds us not just of the fragility of life, of course, but our ability to respond through action. So the question is, what are some of the sanctuaries that we can build today, physically and spiritually, to honor those we've lost? How do we preserve their memories in a way that is sacred? In Exodus 25, chapter 25:10, we read instructions for the ark made of wood, overlaid with gold, inside and out. The Torah emphasizes even the smallest details of the Mishkan. It's like an IKEA manual, except it's not in Swedish. Each ring, each thread, everything mattered. So why is that? I don't really know. I think I have an idea, and I think it's because that holiness is not found in grand gestures, but in small, intimate moments. I saw a video of a rabbi, I think it's from the shul in Palm Beach, who brought a Sefer Torah to the Bibas family, and the cover of the Torah was orange and had their faces on it, and then completed the Sefer Torah just after the funeral in memory of the children and of their mother. Those are the small, intimate moments that we find holiness. It's a parent comforting a child, a Shabbat meal. So the question is, how can we bring more attention? How do we elevate the small sanctuaries in our daily lives? How about memory as a form of building? In Deuteronomy chapter 25, we read, remember what Amalek did to you, you shall not forget. Judaism commands us to remember, not just in sorrow, but as a form of building for the future. The Mishkan carried sacred reminders of the past. We carry memory forward. So how can we actively engage in memory building for those we have lost? There's a scene in the Torah where the Kruvim, the two cherubim, the two angels, are facing one another in this divine connection. Right? So again, the imagery is stunning, and if it were a movie, you'd see two golden angels with their wings spread, facing one each other, face to face. And that, for me, are these two babies. There was a video that circulated of Ariel, who was 4, playing with his brother Kfir, who was 9, looking into his eyes, and the baby's looking back at him, and he has no idea what he's saying. He's 9 months old, but he's laughing. He understands that this person who he's looking at is so full of love for him. And so I picture the two of them looking at each other like angels. You know, tragedy has a way of isolating us, but I think our Jewish morning rituals of sitting Shiva, reciting Kaddish, they remind us to face one another. To face each other and to look into the faces of others, to see maybe what we couldn't see looking in the mirror. So honoring the Bibas family means coming together, comforting each other, strengthening Jewish unity. How can we deepen our sense of Jewish responsibility and connections in times of loss? And finally, maybe just one more piece of text. The Ark of the Covenant protecting what is most sacred. We read in Exodus chapter 25, and you shall put into the ark the testimony which I will give you. So what did the ark house? It houses our most sacred teachings. The Torah. It teaches that some things are too precious to be unguarded. Our children, our people of values, we have to keep it all in the ark. And I think the Bibas family travesty and tragedy reminds us of the urgency of protecting that which is most vulnerable. Whether it's the security guards outside who our 360 ECA kids see every day, or maybe through advocacy and education, through lobbying, through going to Israel, through spending time on the ground, from buying a falafel on the street to support the local economy. So what do we need to safeguard today as individuals and a community? What are the things we need to ensure our Judaism is strong, is alive, is thriving? What do we need to make sure that we safeguard not just the physical, but whatever is in here too? So in memory of Shiri and Kfir and Ariel and every single soul murdered on and after October 7th, we pray that their memories serve as a reminder to us to safeguard, as it says in our Siddur, the ideals and institutions which are the pride and glory of Israel and of this country, which allows us to practice and to preach our religion. Shabbat Shalom.